Hello, and today I'll be giving my review of War Room. I watched War Room originally with my sister, as you can clearly see, but my sister isn't here because while editing my watching of War Room, I realized at some recordings that did not record. That's because midway through War Room something happened, and then my sister and I had to pause the movie and come back after a little while to watch the rest. And I forgot to press record, so there's some recording that's missing. Also, I was so new to this watching thing. War Room was the very first movie I recorded watching, and it was with my sister. It was obviously a great experience because I'm still doing this thing, but I was so new to the movie watching world that I made a ton of mistakes. So when it came to post-production, it was really challenging to like put all the footage together and everything. But now I feel like I found a somewhat with rhythm. I don't regret doing that watching of War Room. I think it taught me a lot, gave me a lot of experience. You learn and you continue and you grow. But I loved War Room. I specifically love Claire. I love the glamour. She was so sweet. She was so wonderful, and she was so funny. Like, I didn't expect her to have that kind of sense of humor. I didn't expect that at all. Like, my knowledge coming into War Room prior everything was that I knew there was a prayer closet. Like, that was the only thing I kind of knew from War Room. That also came because of all the things I would watch on social media. I would see YouTubers, I would see Christian influencers in general always, like, sometimes it would like mention how they try to form a prayer closet, and then people would be like, that's from War Room, or I learned that from War Room, or making my prayer closet. And I was so confused. I was like, okay, clearly this is about a prayer and it involves a closet. So that's the only thing I kind of knew from War Room. I also knew it had something to do with marriage, like there was a marriage problem that she was gonna pray about, but that's about it. So when I got into the movie, all I was thinking was, okay, I'm waiting for this grand scene about like a closet and everything, but I ended up getting more, obviously, because there's more to the movie, there's more to the story. So when I was watching, because I had prior information, I was just like focused on that happening the whole time, and it kind of took some time. So I was a bit impatient, but overall I still loved the story. The husband, though, of course, they were having their fight and everything. That's the whole point of why she needed to pray over him. But I did wish that we had more depth to his character. Maybe I mentioned that during our end review, because I'm still gonna add the end review that me and my sister had at the end of this video, so that you can see what my thoughts were like freshly after watching the movie, so you can just like see what my first reaction was. But I did mention that I did wish we could have explored more what the issue of the marriage was, like what was the main conflict. Like if we could have got more of that, I think that would have really emphasized a lot more to the story. I also gave an idea that I had for War Room. Told me and my sister were talking, I was like, I would love if we can kind of have a like a part two type of thing, like almost like, for example, in Inside Out, they had it followed Riley and her story, and then Inside Out 2 is when Riley hits puberty. So it's like, okay, this would be nice if we could follow the daughter's story. Like War Room 2 could be about her going to college, or her being in high school, and how she needs prayer, and like it's a whole different stage of life, because the prayer was more focused on her marriage and everything in War Room. So I was like, okay, how would this apply in different areas of life, or different stage of life, right? Because when you're in a marriage stage, your prayers often center around your family and your home and your marriage. When you're in college or high school, the end of high school, the beginning of college, or the end of college, your prayer request can change dramatically because of that stage of life that you're in. I was like, okay, I would love if we could get that, like if we could follow the daughter throughout her journey. So I was quite excited for that. I definitely would love to to work with the Kendrick brothers on that, but that was just my idea of my sister. It was quite enjoyable. Like the ending was so touching. It was so beautiful seeing that change. And when, spoiler alert, but when the husband made that decision to help the man who really seemed like if he was praying for his downfall, I found that such a beautiful display of character development, and the fact that what she really all she wanted was like a foot massage and I believe some ice cream or something, and that's what her husband did. I think that that was such good story writing. I love it when movies mention something and then like towards the end it kind of like comes full circle, so that was really beautiful. Hope that you enjoyed the rest of my review, and honestly I loved War Room. I want a War Room 2. Even though I know that we're in that stage of like people making sequels of everything, I really do think that we could follow like the daughter's journey. It's something I think worth looking into, and I think it's a beautiful way to show how we can pray about different things in different stages of life. I believe that sometimes in our Christian walk we can put so much emphasis on one stage of life like marriage, or another stage of life like finances, but I think like the college idea I had, or high school, there's so many things that you can struggle with, like control, what is my calling, what's my purpose, so many things that you need so much prayer and direction for. And I think the daughter having someone similar to Claire, the grandmother, like teaching her prayer, teaching her to surrender this new stage of life, teaching her about finding a calling, I think something like that would be beautiful. I know that the movie The Forge, me and my sister actually recently watched it and finished it, and we're gonna post a watching about it, and I know it was following like Isaiah and his journey, but I think even as Christian women, oftentimes we can emphasize marriage and children a lot, which is not a bad thing. It's a beautiful thing and something to be celebrated. And I know the world tries to like downplay marriage and downplay having kids, downplay being a stay-at-home mom, or downplay just loving marriage, loving love, and not really being very ambitious. But I would like to see a Christian's POV of a Christian woman's POV outside of the world of marriage, kids, and a husband and everything. How would that look like, if a woman did want to fully just pursue like a career or college or like friendships in general? I think that'll be such a nice way of like kind of like steering away from just the typical messages we get, which is about marriage, husband, love, to like something different, just home, kind of like coming of age type of film. I think that'll be very interesting, and I hope that you enjoyed the rest of this review.
Start.
Okay, I'll say mine. Okay, I'll say mine. I think it was good. I think the one thing that, okay, I don't even know where to start with my thought. It was a good movie, good quality. It's nice to finally know that have watched War Room, because I've heard about it and I've actually seen it for myself. The music was really interesting. The story was really nice. It was quite engaging. I really liked the old grandma. She was super sweet. She's someone that I would like to have also in my life. Someone's just wisdom. I find all the characters interesting to an extent. I feel like I did expect the closet thing to be a bigger thing. I think it's because we just talked about so much that I just imagined that it would just be
The biggest part of the film is gonna just be that.
just be the closet thing, but turns out it's not. Like there's a lot more to the story. I personally don't like watching infidelity things in movies and stuff.
The cheating plot lines.
I hate those personally, so I was a bit uncomfortable, did not enjoy that the most, but it did redeem itself closer to the end. I did struggle understanding what was the main issue in the marriage. I don't know if it was like, oh, the enemy can use anything. Was it to help us to relate? Like, if they said a specific problem, people could be like, oh, I don't struggle with that. Was it for that? Because I am very curious. Like, I did wish there was more of a storyline to what started it. Like, whether it started by, like, if we could get like either a flashback scene or even through dialogue, or some type of hint of when it all started. I know that I forgot the guy's name now. Tony. I know that he became busy. He started like his money started getting to his head, but I wish you could have seen more of that
Like, was it because he started making money? Did he think, oh, I don't need to listen to her? And did she feel frustrated, therefore? Was it more of an issue of maybe they both got angry and they didn't want to resolve the issue, so later, not communicating properly? I'm not really sure. If someone understands that, they can please explain.
Yeah, we would love an explanation of that, but for me, I feel like you could have navigated that a lot more. Like, if you could have gotten more of that depth, because at the beginning, it was hard for me to see the appeal of the husband at all, and he just seemed bad from the get-go. But I wish that we could also have seen that human aspect, like seeing how maybe the greed could have gotten to him. I don't know how they could have done that, but I wish we could have gotten more depth from that, and also how it affected their daughter. How did they get to this point? I think would have been really, really nice. It's also a good teaching moment because yes, prayer, even though prayer is important, basic things like communication, like to avoid issues and like opening doors to the enemy where it can cause chaos and stuff like that. I think it's also important if we could see like what caused that open door for the enemy to blind the husband, because that can happen even again, right? Yes, of course we can pray, but if these little things like miscommunication, things that they didn't work for, that could of course that can repeat itself again even when he has his new job. So I feel like also being aware of what was that open door that led the enemy to blind and sow those seeds, so that you can guard yourself and your marriage from that, I think would have also been really like a good lesson opportunity.
I do think so, that, and I'm happy they did address the husband's pridefulness and his flaws and his issues, and they did, luckily by the end of the film, make him a better character, because even me with the beginning of the film, I was like, I don't see anything redeemable about this man. I don't know why we should be rooting for him. Is he redeemable?
Why must we be sympathetic?
Yeah, because even with the main character Elizabeth, although we could see her flaws too, like the same thing, arguing and arguing over time. She was also a busy person, neglected the daughter, but we also saw the lovable parts about her, So we had a reason to root for her. In the beginning of the film, I wish we did kind of see that with Tony. Maybe the point of the film was to show how pride and all these features completely overtook him. I'm assuming that maybe he was always like that, but maybe it was smaller and then it just started to grow, to the point where it overtook him completely. And I'm happy they did address it, like, slowly admitting he was wrong, helped him become less and less of a prideful person. I also appreciate the humor of the film and the music, because I think with a lot of Christian films, I don't know what it is, sometimes it's just not done the best with production. Like, we give so much of, like, it felt very natural.
Yes.
It wasn't like quoting a Bible verse right today, you know what you should do right now, Isaiah this. No, I feel like that
she gave jokes like the lukewarm.
I feel like the jokes and stuff like that, it felt more realistic, enjoyable to watch, but not forgetting the main plot about God and putting it first. I loved the grandma too. I loved her message and the fact that she didn't want someone to make the same mistakes as her. Even I didn't realize that she did the exact same thing as her, but the husband died without it being resolved. I thought it was good. I thought everything was peaceful and bliss, but I think the grandma is a good representation for people who have made mistakes. They have gone through trouble and there are scars there, because that can happen in the Christian faith, where we do make mistakes and we can't undo those mistakes. Like, her husband's not gonna come back to her, but God gave her grace. He opened her eyes to see where she went wrong, so she doesn't make that mistake again. So I love that part too, that they did address that. Other than that, I think the film was really good. I enjoyed it a lot. I loved the message about prayer and a better understanding of what war room was, because I really, really did think the prayer closet was the whole plot of the movie. But I think the way they addressed the daughter, the relationship, and even the money issues, I think it's a really good film. Also realistic too, because I think a lot of people can go through this.
I also like the fact that the grandma could have also been bitter and be just upset. She could have stayed in that condemnation and guilt. And I bet she still sometimes feel a little bit of guilt. But then she was just like, you know what, I can't change my life. She accepted the fact that she did make a mistake. But she's like, okay, let me help other people not make the same mistake. Because she could have spent the rest of her life just moping and being sad, being in her own little house, locking the doors and being like, I miss my husband every second. And I bet there probably are days where she feels that, but like how she's like, no, instead of using my time for that, let me use it to either teach and mentor other people. Because I bet the grandma was like, oh, if only someone told me this, where would my life have been? If only. But staying in that place, I think can be unhealthy because there's nothing you can do about what has happened already. But what you can do is help the future generation absolutely not make the same mistake, and that's what she learned. And in this way, I bet she's gonna help so much more people.
And also so happy that she didn't die at the end.
Oh,
So scared with the ominous. I don't know. Maybe to me the music sounded ominous when she went into a room. I was like,
I think we're
no.
just traumatized from sad movies because I feel like a lot of Christian movies can get really, really sad sometimes. So I feel like that's because I was noticing throughout this movie, I was always expecting the worst. The worst from the husband, the worst from the daughter. I don't know if we expected the daughter to be harmed or something like that.
But like the movie was so lighthearted and fun and happy, but so it's sort of realistic. You know, he didn't get his job back. He didn't get a high,
which I liked.
Job.
I liked the fact that he didn't get his job back. I think that if they made it like I said, we are not against God redeeming you and favor, and because God can do all those things. You could have gotten his job back. It's not impossible. There's nothing is impossible for God. But I feel like it becomes an unhealthy thing if you see it as, okay, me having integrity, me being respectful, me obeying God equals I'll get everything I ever wanted. I think that's a bad mindset to have because you're supposed to have that mindset of like, whether I get the job or not, I'm still gonna do the right thing. Whether I become richer than I was before or I even get poorer, I'm still gonna do the right thing. And that's a decision he make. Whether he could go to prison or not, he was still going to confess. And like God gave him a gift already, which is not going to prison. You know, so I feel like for a lot of Christian communities, they will grow up, or it's always taught that, you know, if you make a mistake, if you do something, you know, and you confess and you do the right thing, you know, if he confessed, automatically he's gonna get everything back. And yes, God does give grace, and yes, God does redeem, but that doesn't take away the consequences of your sin sometimes. If you stole, you can still get into trouble. Yes, God has forgiven you. Yes, God can give you grace, but you did still steal. You know, you did still do something wrong. And I feel like sometimes people might want to erase that completely, want to avoid the consequences, want to avoid those things and just receive blessing. But that's not necessarily what mercy and grace is. Mercy is God not giving you what you deserve, but it doesn't mean, and grace is God giving you what you don't deserve, but it doesn't mean that you're gonna get everything that you want. And like you're not gonna have any consequences, never get punished, no. God can still discipline you, but even that discipline, even though he did lose that job, it taught him something and opened up the opportunity of a lesser paying job, but one that's closer to his family. Because maybe God knew that if he had that job again, the same, and maybe it's that girl. What is the girl's name again?
The Veronica girl.
Yes, was it Veronica? Yeah, maybe God knew Veronica's too problematic. So maybe like God intentionally did not want him to get that job back. But that doesn't mean that, oh, God didn't bless me, I confess. Right? Where is God?
Yeah.
He gave him a better job, a less paying job, but one that will keep him close to his family and far away from Veronica.
I feel like also the priorities and what gave them joy, like the wife said, was completely moved to the right things. Because remember, if the wife started finding joy in God, not just the husband, I think the husband also started finding joy in his family, spending time with people. And you know, because of his job, it was all the money. We get this house, we have this and this and this, which he was barely home. So I think the job will benefit really well.
I also think that it's gonna benefit him so much more because, like, before he was so disinvolved with his family. He was always like chasing money, chasing success. But now he was able to do the double dutch skipping rope thing with his daughter. He was able to like help a guy on the street, able to wash his wife's feet. Those are things that if he had his previous job, he probably wouldn't have been able to. And I think in this generation as well, I think sometimes we get so obsessed with chasing money, being busy, being like hard to call. Yes. But like at what cost? At the end of the day, if it's costing your family, if it's costing your marriage, if it's costing your children, if it's costing even yourself and your relationship with God, you can have, because he said that all those fancy things, she would not want it. She would much rather want a husband that just loves Jesus. And I think in this generation, a lot of people want to chase like big titles, this and this and this and this, but they're forgetting that at the end of the day, we need to be people who love God and prioritize God and our families, and all these other things shouldn't be over above that.
Like the verse says, like seek God first and his kingdom, his righteousness, and all these other things will be added on to you. I do think that is a big issue in this generation. We're like, oh, I can read the prayers but I can cry my Lamborghini or something like that. I think people say that, but I think in the situation it really, really would not give you any relief. I don't think you would care about how much money these seats cost when the tears are staining them, honestly.
Yeah. Because they were quite rich, but they were more miserable. I would say they're happier now with him having a lesser paying job, or when he wasn't even having a job, than when he had a higher paying job. I think they're much happier because I realized that they were like he had everything could ever want, but had a bad marriage. There was always arguments. He had a daughter that was always sad. Everything was so chaotic, and then I was just like, how often we do the same thing of like, I think this generation will always encourage, be successful, do this, do that, but then at the end of the day we have all those things and we're unhappy, and we don't have any friends because like people neglect their friends in order to pursue these things. Hustle. People neglect their relationships, so like you have everything you want but you have nothing that you truly need. And I was like, at what cost did he do that? And he himself was miserable. And that's when he broke down before God and was like, God, I need you. I have all those things, but I'm lacking you, your peace, your love, your faithfulness, your joy. And then when he prioritized God, he lost a couple of those things. Like they lost their car, he lost his job, but he had those things that he really wanted, which was the peace. And I think that when they have that, and you can tell the difference between how you had before and after, you realize that those things actually don't bring you joy and peace. It's appreciating the gifts God has given you, and that is firstly God and your family.
This is not us encouraging people to be poor on the streets or money is bad, but it's to always seek God first and put him first, and never let money and all these things overtake it, because it really does distract us along the way.
I do think so. Any other points like to mention?
Not any I can think of right now.
I think also, that's it. And excited to watch The Forge though. It's another, I think, Kendrick brothers. I have to Google search if they actually
making these claims.
Imagine if he ever watches this review and he's just like, what did I even say?
I didn't even know I made that movie.
But it has a similar aesthetic and vibe, and Priscilla's also there. I actually don't know.
Wow.
Oh my god, the accusations. I need to verify everything I'm saying before, like, there's just a bunch of people saying, what are you talking about? But I've heard good things from The Forge. We did watch the movie trailer, but I didn't finish it because I felt like it was giving too much. But I don't actually properly remember the details, so I think we can definitely watch that. So I'm excited to watch The Forge. Love to see another storyline. I hope to see another old lady. I think the main character is a guy, so we might see an old man this time. I hope so. I have high expectations. If you guys like this video, like and subscribe. Like me, follow me on socials. But basically, we're gonna cut this off. I'm keeping this in. Like, subscribe.
You need to rest bloopers.
Huh?
You need to rest bloopers.
Like, subscribe. We need to show that we speak French. Oui.
Peace out. From E and C.
E and C. Wait, I should do this. Oh, we did it at this episode. Okay, that's gonna be nice.